The rain was pouring hard that night. In the back of a black limousine, a lonely CEO stared out the window, watching the city lights blur through the glass, when suddenly, a tiny hand knocked on his door. He lowered the window, and the little girl, drenched to the bone, whispered, "You need a wife, and I need a dad." Alexander Gray was the kind of man who had everything: money, power, and the kind of quiet reputation that made entire boardrooms go silent when he walked in. But tonight, none of it mattered, because tonight marked 5 years since he lost his fiancée, Clara, in a tragic accident. Since that day, Alexander hadn't let anyone close. No friends, no family, just work. He told himself he didn't need love. But as the rain tapped against his limousine window, even he couldn't silence the ache of loneliness pressing against his heart. His driver, Martin, glanced back. "Sir, we're stopped near the park. There's a small crowd ahead." Alexander barely looked up. "Go around." But before the car could move, there was a faint sound, a knock on the tinted glass. Martin hesitated. "Sir, it's a child." Alexander frowned, lowering the window just slightly. And there she was, a small girl, maybe 6 or 7, soaked in the rain, clutching a worn-out teddy bear. Her lips trembled, but her eyes, wide, amber, innocent, held no fear. She stepped closer and whispered, almost like a secret meant only for him, "You need a wife, and I need a dad." For the first time in years, Alexander didn't know what to say. "Where's your mother?" he asked gently. The little girl looked down. "She's sick. The doctor says she needs medicine. I was trying to sell my teddy bear for money." Alexander's chest tightened. "What's your name?" "Emma. Emma Brooks." Something about that name struck him. Pure, simple, real. Without thinking, he opened the door and took off his coat, wrapping it around her small shoulders. "Come on, Emma. Let's get you warm." In the limo, Emma sat quietly, sipping hot cocoa Martin found from a nearby cafe. Alexander watched her, his usual icy demeanor melting away. "Why did you say that, about needing a dad?" he asked softly. Emma looked up, innocent and matter-of-fact. "Because you looked lonely. My mama says people who look out the window like that are missing someone." He didn't reply. He couldn't, because she was right. "Where do you live?" he finally asked. Emma gave an address in a poorer part of town. Without a word, Alexander told Martin, "Drive." When they arrived, he followed her up creaky stairs to a small, dim apartment. Inside, a woman lay on a thin mattress, coughing, her face pale but beautiful in a fragile way. "Mommy," Emma said, rushing to her side. "I brought help." The woman looked up, startled. "Emma, sweetheart, you can't just—" She froze as she saw Alexander standing there, tall, soaked, and clearly out of place. "I'm sorry," she said weakly. "She doesn't understand boundaries. I'm Lena Brooks." Alexander nodded. "She told me you weren't well. May I call a doctor?" Lena's pride flared. "We can't afford." "You don't have to," he interrupted softly. "Please, let me help." That night, Alexander paid for Lena's treatment, bought groceries, and had a doctor check on her. When he left, Emma ran to the window, waving her teddy bear goodbye. Lena whispered, watching him go, "Who was that man?" Emma smiled sleepily. "The man who looked like he forgot how to smile. But I think I helped him remember." He told himself it was just charity. But weeks later, Alexander found himself standing once again in front of that same old apartment door. This time, with flowers, groceries, and a question he couldn't quite explain. Lena was recovering well. The doctor's medication had helped, and for the first time in months, her color was returning. But what surprised her most wasn't her improving health. It was Alexander Gray's consistency. He called every few days, quietly covering her medical bills through anonymous donations. And every Friday, he visited, always bringing something for Emma. Sometimes books, sometimes toys, sometimes just stories from the city skyline she loved to hear about. To Emma, he was Mr. Alex. To Lena, he was a mystery she couldn't quite figure out. One evening, as Emma showed Alexander a drawing she made, stick figures of Mommy, me, and Mr. Alex, Lena smiled softly. She's very fond of you, she said. Alexander looked at the paper and chuckled. She's got talent. Lena hesitated. You didn't have to keep helping us. He met her eyes. Maybe not, but I wanted to. There was silence. A warm, heavy silence filled with understanding. One night, Lena got a call. It was the landlord, threatening eviction. Alexander found out the next morning, arriving unannounced. How much? He asked simply. Lena shook her head. I can't take your money anymore. He sighed. Lena, this isn't about money. It's about safety. For you and Emma. Her voice trembled. Why do you care so much? He looked at her then. Really looked. Because I know what it's like to lose someone and have no one show up. You don't deserve that. Tears welled in her eyes. You've already done so much. Then let me do this one more thing, he said softly. By the next week, Lena and Emma had moved into a small but beautiful apartment. One owned by Alexander's company, rented under her name. She tried to refuse again, but Alexander insisted, smiling. Consider it an investment in your future. As the days passed, their bond deepened. Emma began calling him for bedtime stories over video calls. And Lena, despite herself, found comfort in the way he always asked how she was really doing. Not out of pity, but out of something deeper. One night, while walking them home after dinner, Emma slipped her small hand into his. Mr. Alex? Yes. You smile more now. He laughed softly. Do I? Mommy says that means your heart's waking up. He looked down at her, this little girl who'd appeared from nowhere, and realized she was right. Months later, a headline broke across the city. Billionaire CEO Alexander Gray to host charity gala for single mothers. But no one knew the real reason why, until that night, when a small girl changed everything again. The ballroom glittered under chandeliers as guests in designer suits mingled. Alexander stood at the podium, delivering a speech about compassion, resilience, and rebuilding lives. At the back of the room, Lena watched proudly, Emma beside her in a little white dress. When he stepped down from the stage, he spotted them instantly and smiled like he hadn't in years. Later that evening, Emma ran up to him and tugged at his sleeve. Mr. Alex? Yes, sweetheart. Are you gonna marry Mommy now? Lena turned red. Emma. The crowd nearby chuckled softly. Alexander knelt down, smiling. Why do you ask that? Emma shrugged innocently. Because you already love her. And me. You just don't know how to say it yet. The room fell quiet. Even Lena froze, caught between embarrassment and tears. Alexander stood, eyes meeting Lena's across the room. And in that silence, both of them realized Emma wasn't wrong. Weeks later, on a quiet Sunday morning, Alexander took them both to the park. The same park where he'd first met Emma in the rain. As the sun rose, he turned to Lena and said softly, Do you remember what she said that night? Lena nodded. She told you she needed a dad. He smiled. And she was right. But she forgot one thing. What's that? She forgot to say that I needed both of you. Tears filled her eyes as Emma ran between them, giggling, her laughter echoing through the morning air. Alexander bent down, lifting her up, whispering, Looks like you were right all along, kiddo. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. He felt home.